All right. Hello there, health coaches. Thank you so much for joining me. How are we doing? Today, I'm going to help you with your website. I got to say, it has been a wild week over here. First of all, it's been week one of our live 2024 fast track program. We have an amazing group. So that's been taking up a lot of time. It's great. It's great though. It's like that kind of like wonderful wildness. But then we had an earthquake. Maybe you heard we had an earthquake here in New York that rattled my house. Like my windows were shaking and I was terrified. My HPA access will never be the same. Let's just say that. It was terrifying. New Yorkers are never expecting an earthquake of all things. And then my youngest son turned 10 yesterday, and I brought homemade cupcakes to school for the very last time because next year both of my kids will be in middle school. And then we had an eclipse. So listen, if you have a lot going on, I get it. And that's why, as we move through today's episode, all about building your website, I'm going to help you out. You don't need to take notes. I've actually done the work for you. I've put together notes from today's episode into a free website planner specifically for health coaches that you can download at healthcoachpower.com/planner. I'm going to drop that in our Facebook comments right over here. Whew, just to make it a little bit easier for everybody because it's a weird, weird week. This way, you're not going to miss any important elements for your website, whether you're starting from scratch or maybe you have a website, but it's not working for you. In either case, go get that free planner now. It's at healthcoachpower.com/planner. Now, a good site for your health coaching business, a good site. What does that mean, right? It means it works to bring in clients. I don't care if it's pretty. I mean, of course, you're going to probably want it to be pretty, but that's not the point. I don't care if it's like super high tech. If it's not helping you sign new clients, if you have a website that's just sitting on the internet somewhere collecting dust, it's not working. Capiche? All right. So if you're here live, and I see that some of you are, tell me in the chat, do you have a website? Yes or no? And if you do, would you say it's working for you? Or is it that dusty kind of website we were just talking about? You know, a website's a really big project. So advanced planning with any big project is really key. What I want to avoid is, health coaches sitting down and just kind of throwing pictures and headlines on a page haphazardly. It's kind of like making a meal plan. I'm such a big meal planner. You guys too? I mean, I assume most health coaches are meal planners, but not necessarily. But I love making a meal plan at the start of the week. This way, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's faster. It's easier. It's less expensive to get those meals on the table when it's all planned out in advance. So we're going to take that same strategy here. And it was the same even when I was working in big advertising, because I used to build websites for a living. I was working on companies like Royal Caribbean and Ocean Spray. We're putting together these major, major websites, and every project always started with a strategy. Not like, what do we want the website to look like? Not that important. Really important, the strategy behind it. So there's a lot of decision making ahead of time. And this way, the website build itself would go smoothly, well, as smoothly as possible, because whenever you're working with technology, weird things can happen. It's like the same exact thing with construction. First, the architect makes the plans, then you build the building, and I want that for you too. I want you to save time and money and your sanity by having a clear plan. So when you start to build your site, you know exactly what you're doing. Or when you start to update your site, you know exactly what you're doing. Like Allison, who says over here that yes, she has a website, and yes, it is dusty. So you might be doing this work yourself. You might be working with a web designer, a web developer. If you are, you're in some ways it's easier, right? Because they're going to do it for you. But in some ways it's harder because you really have to be able to communicate your exact needs so that that person or that web design firm isn't guessing And then you will get exactly what you really want. So today we're going to go through 10 things you need ahead of time in order to build your website. And again, this is all laid out for you in a cute little planner, along with some extra tips and ideas, all at healthcoachpower.com/planner. So let's start with platform. We get health coaches always asking, where should I build my site? What's the best place to build a site? Which platform do you want your site built on? This is an important thing to figure out right away because it's going to dictate what features will be available. It's going to dictate the monthly cost of your website, etc. So I'm going to just give you some common platforms that health coaches are using or could be using, things that I think would be worth doing some research on. So the first is WordPress. Then there's Wix. We hear a lot of health coaches using Wix. Squarespace, also very popular. GoDaddy offers a website. If you're already using GoDaddy for other things, that comes up a lot. And Canva allows you to create websites now. So that's just like a short list that you can research. And of course, there's others. But pick that first because it will even inform who you hire, because there are WordPress developers, there are Squarespace developers, designers, right? So people, like, each individual kind of has a platform that they're very, very good at. So if you hire someone because you like their work, but you don't like the platform that they're on, there will be a conflict there. So first you're going to choose a platform. Now let's talk a little more about that strategy. So you need to know who your website is for. It's not for you, surprise. It's for your potential client. Who is that person? So we're talking about a target market. This will dictate everything from the colors that you use on your website to the imagery to the words, right? Because you want to be speaking to somebody very specifically to their needs. Think of the words you would use even in your life if you're speaking to like your 55-year-old Uncle Norm, or you're speaking to, your 22-year-old younger cousin, right? Like, this isn't even marketing. This is just like knowing how to read the room. You will use different words. You will use different analogies. And so similarly, when you're putting together messaging on your website, you want to know who it's for. Okay. Now, kind of alongside that, you'll want to choose a domain name. Anybody getting hung up here? What should you choose? Is it available? You can search all over the place. Health coach this, health coach that, your name, health coach, whatever. If you're using something like your name, great. Like, that never goes out of style. I really like that approach. But if you're using anything other than just like straight up your name, does it reflect, first of all, does it reflect you? Does it also reflect your target market? So example, in my private health coaching practice, where I definitely worked with more type A women, corporate women, more of a feminist angle, more of a liberal mindset. The name of my website was, or the URL for my website was She's Got Power. She'sgotpower.com. That resonated with that type of woman. That's what she wanted, right? So make sure that if you're working with, I don't know, corporate men, the name of your website isn't like cute, fluffy healthcoach.com. Like, you know what I mean? There just would be such a disconnect there. And the other thing to consider strategically, if you're going to be on social media, if you are on social media, is your domain name available across your social media platforms? It's not required, but it sure is nice when you can get the same handle for your different social media accounts, and it also matches your URL, because then there's just one thing for people to remember. Okay, so that's just a little thinking to do ahead of time. In the moment, you might think this is a great domain name. Then you go over to Instagram later and you're like, oh, it's not available. Nothing like this is available. Fail, right? So try to do that all at once and sync them up. All right, so now we're on your website. We have a domain. It's hosted somewhere. It's aimed at a particular target market, and someone arrives on this page. And let's say it's someone who is like the exact right person lands on your website. I don't know how they got there. Maybe somebody referred them. It doesn't matter, but they land there. You know what's going to happen? Most frequently, they're going to spend about 3 seconds and they're going to bounce. That's what it's called, really. It's called a bounce rate. Most people are, maybe they'll go to your about page and then they're going to bounce. Seconds, we have them. So if that's what's happening, and we have mere seconds to get them to take some kind of action, the most important action we can get them to take is giving you an email address. That's much more valuable than them going, oh, look, I'll just follow them on Facebook. Bye. They leave your website and they never come back, and maybe they follow you on Facebook, but that's it. Much more valuable if you can collect their email address. So something that you want to have in place before you build your website is an email opt-in with a gift of some kind, a free something or other that they're going to get in exchange for an email address. Now, this is something you're going to want very, very prominent on your homepage, on your about page, on like every page of your site, in the header. Like it's like, just think of it as an email collection tool, because again, it's the most likely thing. It's unlikely that someone goes to your website for the first time and goes, oh, could I book a free call with you? Let me do that right now. It's rare, right? But email opt-in, that's more likely that you'll capture them that way. And then even if they never go back to your site, they forget the URL, whatever, you can be in touch with them. So for those of you who are here live, do you have some type of lead magnet or freebie that you can give away on your website? And if you're following me here, of course, it should be tied very closely to your intended target market. So if you're building a site for corporate women, I don't know, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but maybe you have a lead magnet, something around, meal prep for 5 days of lunches and dinners because you get home from the office at 7:30 at night, something where she's going to go, oh yeah, I need that. That fits my lifestyle. That's for me. If you offer corporate women, and trust me, I know because I've had many conversations like this, and you're like, oh, would you like my recipe for homemade sauerkraut and kimchi? They're like, no, I would not like that at all. So you really have to think about, what are you giving away? And is it something that they're going to see as valuable, not what you think is valuable, because you are not your intended target market. All right. So now we're collecting email addresses. Of course, for that to happen, you also need an email service, which we're not going to talk about today, but any email service will allow you to put together some type of landing page, some type of pop-up, some type of form. So your website can offer that to visitors. People give a name, boom, they go on your email list. So that's how that works. What else do we need to have as part of this website? Strategically, right? Someone lands here, we want them to turn into a paying client. We collect their email address. Good, very solid move right there. What next? Well, we need them to take us seriously. We need them to be like as impressed as possible in those 14 seconds that they might give us looking at our website. And so a really great way to do this is with prominently placed social proof. Now, social proof, you'll see this on a lot of websites, often includes logos, like as seen on kind of logos. So if you have been seen in the media, if you've been quoted in a magazine, that sort of thing, you can have those logos on your website, and that lends immediate credibility. Love that. I also realize that you might not have those types of logos to share. Not everyone does, especially if you're not starting out. So alternatively, or not even alternatively, in addition to using logos as a form of social proof, think about having testimonials on your homepage, on your about page, certainly on your work with me page. And I mean, you definitely want people to go, oh, okay, this health coach is actively working with clients. Oh, look, that person had a really great result. Oh, like this is a real thing. When you just go to someone's website, don't you sometimes wonder, like, is this even real? If I email this person, are they going to get back to me? Is this an old website that's even like, is it functioning? So you want to make sure that you are appearing active, you are really working with clients, and they are really getting results. So testimonials could be an excellent way for you to add social proof to your site. Do we already have some social proof? Yes? No? Sitting in a folder somewhere on your computer? Now's the time to pull it out. If not, now's the time to go talk to some clients that you've worked with. Get a quote. My favorite way to do it is just to write it for them and ask for their permission to use it. And, I base it on like actual information, maybe the notes that I took when we were working together. I don't just make it up, but I put together a few sentences so that they don't have to do that part. And then it just is so much easier for them to nod their head and say yes. And if you're like, Michelle, I haven't worked with any clients yet. Well, first of all, go work with some clients, but do that anyway. You can still get some type of quote testimony from maybe a friend who you've helped, a family member that you've helped in some way, shape, or form. Don't let it won't be the perfect testimonial stand in your way from getting any testimonial, because it's better to have someone saying, wow, working with Michelle was great. I recommend her to everyone. I mean, if that's what it says, fine, go with that, for now. And you'll work your way, through having more experiences with more clients, and you'll get better testimonials as you go. But do think about social proof. Okay, I'm pausing. Do you have questions for me? You can put them in the chat right now if you're live with me on Facebook. If you are listening to this via podcast later, you can jump into our Facebook group, which is at healthcoachpowercommunity.com. And you can always ask questions and find us there. And we're going to move on to talking about the design. See how we got to this last? Everybody starts here. Oh, I'm going to build a website. Gonna put some colors on the page. I'm gonna put some pictures on the page. Do not start with a design. The design is just like the icing on the cake. So that's why we're talking about it last. Now, what does the site look like? First thing coaches freak out about, a logo. Aha, need a logo for my website. You don't actually. You don't. You could have no logo and still have a very functioning, high value website. So I just want to give you that pass. You can just skip that whole part and say, why do I need a logo? What do I need a logo for? My letterhead, my business cards. I mean, this stuff is kind of passe these days. We don't need it. So consider having no logo. That's one option. If you are going to use a logo, this is very important. Make sure your logo is legible at a small size, because I see a lot of health coach logos and y'all are always so excited about your new logos. And I'm usually looking at it, about 5 inches across on my monitor, and it'll have some type of like flowery looking thing, greens and pinks, and like your name in these delicate letters underneath about, this big. And when that gets shrunk down to be about 150 pixels wide, sitting in the top corner of a website, suddenly you can't read that name anymore, right? And something that maybe was legible at this big size, it means nothing when it's tiny. Or maybe it's because you can read those light pink letters again when it's big, but when it's small, maybe those letters need to be black or thicker so that they're actually legible to the eye. So if you're working with a logo, do look at your logo at different sizes. Now let's talk about colors. Now, in the free planner that I mentioned earlier, I actually share a good tip for finding the perfect colors for your website. So again, if you haven't grabbed that planner already, go to healthcoachpower.com/planner. Colors, you want to make sure you have several, but you don't want to have many. You want a color palette, maybe about 5 colors are going to do you. More than 1 or 2, you're going to need some bright colors, some dark colors, and some neutral colors or lighter colors. Think about a color that you might want a link to be, like in a paragraph of text. If a couple of the words are hyperlinked, by default, they usually show up as that like generic blue color, but maybe you want yours to be green or magenta. If it's too light of a color, you can't read it. So it's got to be a, pretty saturated color. But then say you want a color like in the background. Don't try to put black text on top of a dark green background. It's impossible to read. So you're going to need lighter colors or more neutral colors for backgrounds, right? So that's why I'm going to encourage you to create like maybe 5, 6 different colors for the color palette for your website. And this is something that you can then work from, or you can hand, and they're going to ask you for it. If you're working with a designer, they're going to want to know, what colors do you want to use? Mwah, if you can actually hand them a list of the colors. Bonus points if you give it to them in the hex code, which is the way that the internet reads colors. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just pretend I didn't say that. But if you do know what I'm talking about, instead of just telling someone, oh, I'd like to use a light pink, actually go get the hex code for the exact light pink that you're looking for. And then you can have a list that you just hand over. Good stuff. Now, it's kind of similar when it comes to type or your fonts. I went to school for graphic design, so I tend to say typography or your typeface. But everyone these days, we just say fonts. So the fonts on your computer, it's Arial, it's Times New Roman. These tend to look extremely generic, particularly for headlines, because they are generic. They're like the default font that a browser uses. So this is your opportunity to choose, again, don't use all the fonts in the world. And please, dear God, do not use Comic Sans unless you are a kindergarten teacher. But you can choose maybe one sort of interesting, not too interesting, not Comic Sans interesting, but maybe one serif font for your headlines. Your body copy, Arial is fine for that. Like a default Arial is fine for like small body text because actually much easier to read than other typefaces, but you're going to want to choose, I usually say 2, maybe 3 fonts for your website as a whole. And that way, the whole site holds together. That's like the same colors, the same fonts, it's going to be standard. It's not going to look like, you just kind of type some stuff over here one day and then you copied and pasted some stuff over here the other day. That's what makes a site look very, very amateur, a mishmash of 12 different fonts. So pick 2, maybe 3. And then, of course, when it comes to the design of your website, you need your photography or images that you're going to put on the site. So listen, it's okay if you don't have professional headshots. Headshots are really stiff and boring a lot of times. So even if you have a headshot, like maybe don't use that on your website. I don't know. I've had headshots. I've never been happy about them. Like they don't really do the job. So you're looking for photos that are a little more natural of you in an environment like walking outside or in your kitchen or whatever. And if you don't have professional shots like that, it's okay to use snapshots, like something that your friend took, something that somebody shot of you just on an iPhone. Just make sure whatever pictures you use, you look pleasant. I'm sure you would do that. Okay, you're not going to pick the picture where you're making the weird face. But here's a big one, and that you're not wearing sunglasses. I only say this because I've seen it like again and again and again, because so often, where do our pictures come from? It's like you've no pictures of yourself except for when you were on vacation, and you're on that boat or whatever, and someone took a picture of you and you like how you look, but you've got black sunglasses on like this. They get in the way of you being seen. Like we can't see you with sunglasses on. And humans, even humans that are visiting your website, they connect to faces, right? Like we look for eyes, we look for a mouth. So ixnay on the sunglasses, you guys. And the same thing goes for a wedding dress. Like I know you probably had really beautiful pictures taken on your wedding day, but unless you're targeting brides, right? Goes back to your target market. That would be kind of weird and confusing to have on your professional website as a health coach. And same with your big, beautiful pregnant belly. I see this as well. Now, if you're building a website for expecting moms, by all means, use that picture. Otherwise, not appropriate for your website. These are the times where we tend to hire a photographer, though, right? So that if you're like, oh gosh, these are the only good pictures I have, maybe it's time to hire a photographer. And you know what? I did an episode all about photo shoots for health coaches. We'll link to those in the show notes. All right, so you gather together the photos that you have. You do not freak out if they are not the most perfect professional pictures ever, as long as they show you and you look warm and pleasant and you're looking at the camera and you're smiling and you're not wearing sunglasses or a wedding dress. You're good to go. The next thing you're going to need to build your website are sitemap and wireframes. You probably haven't thought about this, but what goes where? Like, you have to organize your content. Let's say you have 4 really slamming testimonials. You want to use all 4. Well, what pages do you want to put them on? Do you want to put them all on your like about page? You want to put one on your, your homepage, one on your work with me page? This is where you figure out where the content goes. And it's almost like drawing a stick figure. It's like if Michelangelo like drew a stick figure of his work, like before he, sculpted the David, he'd be like, well, it's going to be kind of like this with a head here and an arm like this and an arm like that. That's what you're going to do for your website too. It's just black and white. It's just a sketch of what's going to go where. First, it's like the site itself. What are the pages? How are they connected together? Is there going to be a blog, for example, right? That would be different sitemap than if you're definitely not going to have a blog. So you kind of figure out what all the pages are. Then what goes on each page, those are called wireframes. Whew, I know, it's a lot. You didn't know you were going to school to become a web designer, did you? And you didn't. You didn't. You became a health coach. And unfortunately, you got to wear a lot of hats. Well, maybe fortunately, I find it to be actually very fun to be able to wear a lot of hats in my business. But it is challenging if web design is not your forte. So I know this was a lot. I do not expect you to have all 10 of these things in place right now. That's why you're going to download the free planner and just one by one, work your way through figuring it out one step at a time. I also have an easy way for you to get more guidance and support before you spend thousands of dollars on a designer or before you spend 300 hours of your time trying to figure it all out yourself. But it all starts with our free website planner at healthcoachpower.com/planner. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Here's hoping for no natural disasters, and I will see you next time. Take care.